feel like I've worked with so many different people. I've done so many movies, so many little tiny movies, big giant movies, so many different genres. I feel like, you know, I've done a lot of favors for a lot of people, a lot of little movies and shorts. And so anyway, I just have had all these years of the business and I've worked so hard. And it's really nice to be able to use all that knowledge to create something from scratch, which is this is the first piece of art that, I mean, Maddie did most of it, but I mean, that I feel like I really was with for the whole time. And the first piece of art in my whole 45-year career that I created from scratch. So it's a great feeling, and it's great that I did have some female directors to look up to, and you know, also my husband's a director, Howard Deutch. I met him in Some Kind of Wonderful, and we've been married for 29 years. So, you know, he's my husband. So I say, if he can do it, of course I can do it.
I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but her name has been showing up in the credits, directing a lot of shows, like one of my favorites, The Goldbergs, yeah. And you did Mom? I did Mom. The week that Allison Janney was nominated for an Academy Award, so I couldn't really tell her anything. Yeah, I know, she was great. Yeah, Mom's great. And I will say, I talk to a lot of people, and every time I talk to somebody who tells me that you just directed an episode of their show, they are so excited about that. So you are an actor's director. I'll pass that on to you now. Given that you had a lot of experience behind the camera, what was the delightful surprise of doing a feature film and kind of using your own palette, and what were the unexpected challenges of making a movie rather than a TV show, which has to run pretty quickly and within a certain set of parameters? Well, this has taken us a long time from the moment that, you know, Madelyn started to write this. It's taken us over 4 years, I think, to get it to this point. So it was really like -1 penny an hour is what I earned for this movie. And you know, it's shocking. Like Mom, they gave me 3 hours to edit Mom. 3 hours. And they were like, are you done? I'm like, come on, guys. And this movie I edited off and on for like 6 months. Like every single thing was done. And so it's incredibly handmade. We made this just completely handmade, which is something that's really wonderful about all film, is that it's really handmade by a lot of people. Every moment is individual and will never be created again. And so it was just a matter of like a lot of work. And but I'm still really proud of the movie. It's the movie we set out to make. Now, Madelyn, for you, I mean, you were the genesis of all of this. The story came right from you. Were you an actress who was trying to create a part that you wanted to play and weren't finding anywhere else? Or was this just a story that had been bubbling up inside of you that you had to tell, or some combination of the two?
I thank you. We've done a lot of these and no one's asked that question yet, so I feel a lot of gratitude. I was so disheartened by what I was able to go out for. Like, as everyone knows, like acting is an incredibly competitive thing, and there's a lot of luck involved, and I was not willing to wait to get lucky. I just was too impatient. I'm an Aries. We'll talk about it later. And I just didn't want to wait. I just was like, I knew no one would write this part. I just knew. She was too weird on the page. Ironically, like a lot of young women that read the script were really hard on her. They really didn't understand her. They were like, her motivation's so crazy, and like she's so all over the place. And to me, that was the pathology of me and all my friends. We were bouncing all over the place, didn't know where to land. And so I knew that no one else would write it. And so yeah, that's why I wrote it.
And you know, there's really fertile ground in a quarter-life crisis story. We rarely see them from a female perspective. Now, so much of this, when I was watching it, rang true to me. Even the most seemingly outrageous funny stuff had the feel of the familiar. So I'm curious where you started cherry-picking the bits and pieces of ideas for this. From, I don't know how much of it was autobiographical, how much was anecdotes from friends, or just observations you made.
The way I start by writing anything is that I come up with the concept and then I write down all the things that I can't not have in the script. Like I'm not a proper screenwriter. I don't like outline. I first just make a list of like the greatest hits of things I want to talk about, and I like kind of bullet point it out, and then I search for a narrative and start kind of moving things around and jigsawing them. And then once I've done that, then I create the narrative, and then once the narrative is there, I can go, okay, what do I really, how autobiographical do I really want it to be? Where can I play? You know, and a lot of stuff was a combination, like the stuff in the snow, the search and rescue guy, he was based on someone that I dated, but the snow story was something that happened to my sister. And I'm just not that creative. I was like, why don't we combine the two? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that smart. So, you know, it really is like a hodgepodge of things like that, that's how it ended up that way.
Now, did you guys always intend this to be a family project, or was that the best way to get it made?
Both. We knew that no one, I mean, I know I'm speaking for you here, but like, I knew I couldn't get a director of her caliber to do my first feature. I think she felt she wasn't going to get a script so unique for her first feature as a director. My sister Zoey, who's an amazing actress, who I'm sure you guys have seen in 100 million movies, wanted to produce, and I think she knew she wasn't going to have the opportunity to have as much say in the room as she did on this. Like, she was involved in every decision. She was so hands-on. She had like a little headset and was like running around in a blazer, and so that was part of the reason we did it. We just knew that we wouldn't be able to have this much of a leg up if we didn't kind of all do it together.
One of the things that really struck me is, I don't know, both in the humor of it and the sort of poignancy of it, is the sister relationship. Lea, obviously you know these young ladies really well, but tell me about finding that with the two of them, and you guys as actresses, finding those moments that played so real, and the shifting dynamic between who's the caretaker and who's not as the movie unfolds, because I found that very real and believable and a lot of fun to watch too.
That's so nice, thank you. Well, one of the weird things about this movie is we had to shoot it over a year to get all the seasons, which was really difficult, but made easier that we know each other's schedules and everything. But some of the guys we had to, Nicholas Braun, we had to take him from LA to New York to San Francisco. So it was logistically interesting because we all did different movies in between, and we were shooting different things, and so it kind of evolved in certain ways, because the last couple of scenes, one of the scenes we reshot, kind of added at the end, you know, so I had a chance to kind of like sculpt the movie, and then, you know, your relationship changed over a year, you know, sisters are a very complicated relationship, and maybe you can talk about
Well,
the writing.
we were a disaster. Are you kidding me? My mom would be in Video Village, and we would just be laughing, and she would be like, "Stop laughing!" in Video Village. And our poor DP, Brian Koss, who did such an amazing job, he operated as well, and he would be behind the camera like shaking.
And I'd be, not you too!
No, stop it! Everyone stop laughing. You know, we really cracked each other up. I didn't anticipate that. I don't think Zoe did. I think we thought we were going to be more professional, so if you're feeling that bubbling up, that was real. There was improv there, and that was just us being our mother's waking nightmare.
Also Avin Jogia, who plays Zoe's boyfriend at the time, was Zoe's boyfriend, so he was like another family member, because he'd been with her for many years, so it was like so meta.
Feeding a family, what did your husband Howard say when he read the script and said, "Oh, so I'm dead"?
Yeah.
I've been replaced by a beautiful young lesbian.
You're a lesbian and I'm dead. Okay, Maddie, let's therapy.
But you know what it is? It's because I couldn't write my dad. It was way too much to bite off and chew, and I couldn't figure it out. My dad is the most spectacular character in the whole world. One day, like, I really think like my magnum opus will be figuring out how to write my father, but at this juncture I really don't know how, so I just killed him.
He killed himself.
Oh no, that was dark. It was a good joke, and then you made it dark.
I always go too far. Yeah, she always takes too far. It's so sad.
Well, you know, obviously you guys know each other incredibly well, but Then there's working together, which is always interesting for families to do. So what did you end up learning, maybe even appreciating more about each other, and that includes Zoey, as you were making the movie, or as you came out on the other side of it?
Well, Maddie was a great writer for me, because I could tell she was a really good writer, because I would give her notes and she would be like, oh my God! She'd be like, okay, let me think. Okay, all right, I can do that, but I'm gonna do it different than you said. But I mean, that's how you really can tell when someone's good, like even with an actor, you know, an actor who can kind of just like take the ball you throw at them and kind of look at it and throw it back, you know? So that's what she did. And what was really interesting for me is how professional my children are. I really appreciated that, because I would always say to them, if you're gonna be in this business, I've spent a lot of time being a mensch, which means a really good person, or like a, you know, a worker among workers. And if you guys mess that up, I'm gonna really come after you. Because I think, you know, the joy, I know there's a lot of filmmakers here, the joy of what we do is that we all work together. You know, we all dance around together to make this one vision. And, you know, I just can't stand divas. So my kids are just like really hard workers, and I really appreciated that.
Well, for me, I think just quickly, is like the role of a director is I think there's a lot of really important things, but one of the most important things to me is to pull the best out of everyone that's there on set that day. And like, in order to do that, you can't ever slip, you can't really be a jerk. And the story I tell a lot, but I just was so amazed, is like, we shot a lot of this movie in LA where the crews are really jaded, like they don't have anything to prove, they can get hired again in 2 seconds. Like, they don't need you, you need them. And so the crews are typically not invested because they just don't care. And we were shooting in this crazy house, and we were on our lunch break, and our DIT was like stuffed in a laundry room somewhere that was like as big as this chair. And I go in there, and there's like 30 people from the crew slammed in during their lunch hour watching the dailies as our DIT was dumping the cards. And I was like, oh wow, my mom created such a beautiful, collaborative, kind, and like she just really led the charge, that kind of environment on set, so much that all of a sudden the crew was invested in the story. They never care. And 30 of them were like sitting on top of each other like sardines in a laundry room. I just couldn't believe it. So I think that's the thing that I was so blown away by, is the environment that was created on set. That wasn't short, that was long. Next time I'll be short.
I do want to touch too on that there weren't enough hyphenates for you on this movie, and I don't know if you guys noticed in the credits, but she might have had a hand in the music as well. Tell me about that side of your creative life.
I'm a failed musician. Like, I went to school for music. I'm a disaster. I like couldn't figure it out. I just was aimless, kind of rudderless, as you can tell. Like, I based Izzy on a part of myself that I was after college, and I had this really good kind of conservatory schooling in arranging, composing, and singing, and playing instruments and stuff, but I didn't really know how to apply it. And then when we went to do this, it was just kind of like we didn't have enough money, so Maddie, you're doing the score. And I was really terrified. Like, I almost fully ate it, just like full transparency. I almost just like backed myself up too far and let too much time go, and almost was like, I don't care, just hire someone else to do it. And God bless my mother, she like really pushed me to do it, and we had like no money and no time, and I ended up recording 50 cues in 5 days for the movie in a studio in K-Town, and then
2 songs.
And 2 original songs, but then there's 35 songs in the movie. Like, not the composed score, like just source music, and we had no money for that either. But the coolest thing, and then I'll shut up, is that and this is where like social media is so amazing, I reached out to every single friend of mine from high school, college, all my musician friends, and I just was like, hey, I have no money, I know that's not a great way to start, but just hear me out. Can you send me a Dropbox folder of all the music you don't care about? And I got like hundreds of Dropbox folders, WeTransfer links of musicians that I adore and cherish and respect and admire, of just music they didn't mind giving to me for nothing. So every single song in the movie is totally handpicked. and by people that I like know and love and like grew up with, which is also really exciting.
But it was really fun because she got to, after the movie's done and cut, she got to continue to write, because the last 2 songs in the movie she wrote after, you know, she wrote for the movie, so she could continue to write, which is a really great luxury to have that. I mean,
or your post schedule is just garbage.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if you can't get the Rolling Stones, it's a good way to go.
We are going to take some questions from you guys, but before we do that, I'll just wrap up a little bit with going way off topic, because on a telephone call, you and I were talking for the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future, one of my desert island movies, for sure. And you mentioned that you had the foresight to take the Enchantment Under the Sea gown that you wore, and that you still have it.
Yes.
Do you still have it now?
I do. And nobody in my family.
I know where it is.
I have the shoes too, and the push-up bra. But nobody can wear it. Nobody, even at their skinniest, Zoey and Matt.
Well, that's what I want to do. You ever try to you know, slip it on and step in mom's shoes, literally?
No, her waist was like the size of a carrot. I don't know what was going on. It's like so scary.
Before I carried
so
you
skinny, it's crazy.
All right, let's open it up to you guys. Who's got a question? Yes.
I just wanted to know, hi, just wanted to know, what was your favorite scene to shoot with your daughters in the movie?
My favorite scene to shoot, I think it ended up being there's a scene, oh, well, I liked it when they were singing in the bathtub. That was really fun. I really loved that scene, and people told us, producers told us to cut it. Because they were like, that's too inside. It looks like a home movie. I'm like, no, it's funny and it's cute. And we thought Give My Regards to Broadway was in public domain, but no. So we were done, and we had to spend a lot of our music budget on that song, because but that was really fun for me to watch them sing and stuff like that.
It felt real. It was.
Thank you. Yeah, they were great.
It was. My sister really grabbed my boob.
All right, who's next? Who wants to ask something? Back there. And there is a mic out there for you guys.
Can you talk about the fundraising aspect of the film, and also a 3-city shoot is very ambitious.
4
cities shoot. So did you just kind of write what you wanted to write and then figure it out, or did you have that in mind as you were crafting the story?
I was such a brat, like looking back on it now, like I'm like, who writes that for their first feature? Like makes it so much harder for everyone else. But that was really what the movie required. So the money, there's kind of 2-part question, right? The money and then the kind of shooting schedule. The shooting schedule, it was just that the crew kept getting smaller and smaller. We would shut down for 3 months and then go back, and the crew would be half the size, and we shut down for another 3 months and went back. And by the end of it, all the stuff you see in New York was like full-on guerrilla style. Like it was 6 of us, a cart, the camera, our producer had the bounce, stealing shots, no sound. Like,
I'm in Central Park, I'm going, where's that thing, to the guy that runs, some guy that works at Central Park, I go, where's that alley, you know? And he's like, it's right over there, but you need a permit. And we're like, okay, thank you. Pushing the car.
They can't stop you in New York if it's only a certain amount of people.
It's amazing, yeah. We did it, we got really...
But the best thing our producer ever said about like pulling off really impossible locations is just ask. Like,
yeah, he said if you ask,
you'd be amazed.
Like, yeah, sure. Like he did say that, and he's a really great producer. He's like, some people are like happy to say like, sure, shoot here. Like a lot of times, if you just ask. Like San Francisco, the street we shot on is like one of the most famous streets in San Francisco. It's
Snyder Street.
It's everyone's taking pictures and everything, and he just asked. He just knocked on 2 doors and said, "Can we shoot here?" And he said, "This is what we got," you know.
But as far
$700. The mountain, the snowy mountain that we did, I think we got that for $800. And you know, he just asked, and so.
He also is a hypnotist, is the part where he
These are not the droids.
Yeah, these are not the droids.
The raising of the money is really difficult. It took us a couple years and a few different producers to get to one that figured it out.
But this was also a particular challenge. I wanted to star in it, and no one knew or knows really who I am at all. You know, I had worked a lot in town, but I had nothing that no one had ever seen my face before. So there was no incentive, like, when you're funding in independent film, it's like normally you try to get like foreign pre-sale from another country. That's why you'll see like a genre movie with Steven Seagal, because like they went to, you know, they went somewhere in Asia and they were like, no problem, here's a couple $1,000,000. We love Steven Seagal, you know? But we obviously couldn't do that. And then, but the scariest part, I will say, is that aside from how complicated it was to get the funding, people weren't afraid to give us money because they didn't know who I was. They were afraid to give us money because the thing we heard in every single room was that a female-fronted comedy is the riskiest investment. Wow. That was over and over and over.
It's not true. It's literally not true.
It's not true. This was also pre-Me Too Times Up, so everyone was. We've gone through so many life cycles with this movie. When we started, it was like female-fronted comedies are a risky investment. We don't care. Then we made it, and then there was a lot of, shall I say, political unrest in the country, and when we were submitting to festivals, they were like, we don't need a story about a privileged white girl. And now that's kind of changed again, and Me Too Times Up has come in, and all of a sudden people are going, oh, just kidding, maybe we are interested. So like, this is the insane thing about making a film, is that it lives many lives, you know, which we didn't anticipate, so.
Yeah, and you didn't even star in Back to the Future. It's got like 1,000 lives. It won't die. It won't die.
All right, who else has got a question? Back there.
So, what was the craziest thing that happened to you guys like on set or while working on the movie, just in general?
I think the craziest thing is that the ski scene, it was a beautiful mountain with a gorgeous view of Lake Tahoe, and we all got there, and we were like, oh no, a storm is coming. And I asked the actor who played the ski instructor, can we shoot a day early? And he was like, no, it's my 2-year-old's birthday. I can't take the day off. I'm like, she won't know.
She sat up all night with the radar watching the storm move in on the computer, her eyes bleeding, just like,
no. And we're so close. So we literally took, we took up all the equipment.
We're up
$200,000 worth of anamorphic lenses in the ski lift.
We had C-stands and Fernie pads on the lift.
During the worst snowstorm ever.
In 20 years. Our first AD had icicles in his beard. Like, they were like, we gotta start getting gear off this mountain!
I had one take.
She literally was yelling behind the camera, and you could see the crew in our sunglasses, and everyone's yelling, we'll paint it out in post! She's yelling, fall down! They're like, we're gonna close the lift! It was the most insane.
It was awful, and I had no time. I mean, I'm in that editing room just like, what? We had one more take. And the other part about that is, Zoey, Maddie, Lea couldn't ski at the top of a mountain in Lake Tahoe in a snowstorm.
So then there were all these crew members that were like, you just give me your skis, no problem. I'll shoot you down there. You could just go down the lift with all my gear. I'll meet you back down at the base of the hill. Like, it was so insane.
Oh, that was really bad. But it kind of worked with the whiteout. I think it's instead of the pretty Lake Tahoe. I think we have to go.
I think that's it. I think we are out of time.
Thank you guys for coming so much. I really appreciate it.